Hi everyone, it's been a little while since I've done a video, and I think a lot of that reason is because I haven't felt very well and I've been battling some stuff, but it's a new year and I am just really trying to get out of what I would call survival mode and get into just doing the best that I can to take care of myself, and that's physically, that's mentally, that's spiritually, all of the above. And so I want to be able to just use this particular channel to be a source of encouragement. It's just kind of hard to pour out into others when you feel like you're a little dry yourself. And I think that's kind of where I have been. But then I've been talking to my husband about some stuff, and the Lord recently has really just been pouring some blessings on us in many different ways. But I feel like I have some overflow right now, which is wonderful and very encouraging. And so I want to encourage whoever may be finding this and listening, on your journey, on your day-to-day thing. And it may not be cancer, it may be something totally different, but that weighs on you. I mean, we also parent a child who has autism, so that weighs on us as well. And but I heard something the other day, so I can't take credit for the wisdom of this, but I want to share it because it's stayed with me, and I felt like it was very impressionable, and I thought, this would be good to share on my video. So basically it was talking about a little analogy saying that someone went into the break room where they worked and they poured themselves a cup of hot coffee. And when they came out to go down the hallway to return to their office, somebody bumped into them and they spilled the coffee all over themselves. Of course, it was hot. They were upset. And they said, "You made me spill my hot coffee on myself. You burned me." And the person said, "I didn't burn you. The coffee burned you." And when I thought about that, I was like, okay, I see the point here. And the point being, it was what was inside the cup that caused the damage. It wasn't the bump that caused the damage. And that's so true in life. I mean, whatever we fill our cup with, that's what's going to flow out when life bumps us. And believe me, life will bump you. If you haven't been bumped yet, you will be bumped. But life does bump us in different ways. And sometimes it's just maybe a little, and sometimes it's a big shove. And whatever's inside of us, whatever emotions we're feeling, whatever fills our minds, fills our hearts, fills our souls, that's what's going to pour out. And if you're filled with faith, then your faith is going to pour out. If you're filled with joy, then your joy will come out, even when there's bumps and hurts and burns or whatever it may be. That's what's going to come out. If you're full of anger, then anger is going to come out when you have a bump in the road. If you're filled with depression and sadness, that's what's going to come out. So it's really important just to be thinking about what you're filling your cup with every day. And how do you fill your cup? What do you watch? What do you listen to? What do you read? Who are you around? Who are the influences in your close circle? Are you around somebody that's encouraging and uplifting? Or are you around people who are always complaining, who are always finding the worst in everything? That stuff rubs off on you and it pours into your cup. And, you just got to be really careful about that. And that's a good awareness for me as well. I am typically an optimistic person, but I can find myself, especially when I'm going through the things that I'm going through, you can feel like, some sadness, and you can feel some discouragement at times. I've been really isolated because my white blood cell count has been suppressed. And even though I'm getting booster shots, it just keeps dropping. And so what that means for me is that I have to be extra cautious about getting sickness, because if I do catch any type of virus or infection, and if I run a fever that's even 100.4 or higher, I have instructions to go to the ER. I'm on this really I'm like in a bubble in a lot of ways. In fact, I went to my oncologist on Friday, and he even said, you're like the boy in the bubble, which I can remember. I'm old. So I can remember there was a movie about that where some boy was isolated, but he was explaining it was because of a disease that he had and that his T cells weren't forming the way that they should. So he had to be extra cautious and basically live an isolated life if he was going to continue to live. And while I'm not that bad, I really do have to be very careful about who I'm around because I can pick up a sickness very easily, and praise God for his protection. I haven't had any, but we have to watch that with my husband and with my son and whoever I'm around. Probably the most difficult thing about all of this is that I'm not able to go to live church services yet, but I'm starting to get a couple of shots now a week. We're going to start that this week, and hopefully, will get me up to where I need to be. But in the meantime, being isolated, while on one hand, sometimes I want to be isolated because sometimes I feel like crawling into my cave and not being in touch with anybody, I don't know. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed. And then sometimes I want to be around people. I want to talk to people. I want to see people. I want to hug. Physical touch goes a long way. So, I'm trying to deal with all of that. But again, it's what you pour into your cup and what you feed yourself with, what you think about, what you listen to, what you hear, what you watch, who you're around. All of those things will definitely influence your reaction the next time that life gives you a little bump. And so I just wanted to share that word with you, and I hope that it's helpful. Have a great day.